Welcome back to Satisfactory. To start today's episode, we'll start where the last episode finished, where basically we got the analysis of that hard drive. We get the option of 3 different recipes. Now, electromagnetic connectors, I'm not going to go for. It does need high-speed connectors and stators, but that's not important for me. What's really important in this one is not necessarily this middle one either, that would basically take iron and copper combined to make 5 iron alloy. Basically an alternate way of getting iron alloy. If you're constrained on iron but not necessarily on copper, you could use that to upgrade it. And indeed, the production rate of these are pretty good. However, over here, screws. 52 screws for 1 iron beam. And I can make iron beams really quite easily. More importantly, 260 screws a minute is going to come out of this thing. So I think I'm going to take that one for now. And that seems to be at least the choice I'm going to make. Maybe you'll make your own, obviously your own game, certainly if they're random and you're not following the exact locations of mine, maybe that they will be different in your particular case. However, let's not only just start with the MAM research, but also take a look at accelerators, or whatever we're actually going to be turning out, we're calling these human accelerators for going up there. Now, even when I build a really fast one, by about there, it slows back down to normal speed. And gravity is really counteracting this, so I'm not sure how much speed I'm actually going to be able to get up to actually get it all the way up there, so I may not be able to do it. However, if you're sending these things long range without going uphill a huge amount, then I think you'll probably be okay with it. So, with that in mind, someone in the comments from the last episode when I covered them said, well, do you need to build them like that? Could you just make them a little bit differently so that they didn't need to throw you out in a random direction? Yes, you can. You need more resources if you're going to do it this way, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And it's straightforward. Do you remember before we were able to build conveyor belt lifts like this, we used to build lifts for conveyors. But they weren't lifts like this. They were on the stackable conveyors, and you had these spiral conveyors going up through your factory. Very, very nice. Looked amazing. Lots of people had different arrangements of them, like double lifts to take 2 belts of materials up, and triple lifts and everything else like that. They were very, very nice. Well, same thing again. Okay, so here's my apparatus, and it does work. Okay, the very, 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 very important thing about this is that whatever your exits your thing here, leave a large gap between this and wherever your transport tube is running. This is just a replacement for the early one. Okay, make sure you do that. If you don't, I hope that this section is not going somewhere a very long way away, because there is no way for you to return if you don't put that gap there. Because what's going to happen is you're going to come all the way back down, get to here, and you'll hit the entrance, which goes the other way, which ejects you backwards. So of course you can turn around when you're in the pipes by just holding down in a direction, which will bring you back down, which will hit the entrance and fire you back again. So yes, not that I found out that by experience whatsoever. However, let me show you how it works, and you'll see it's reasonably fast to get started, and it will be reasonably fast if we were going to go long distance on a flat sort of gradient. So we just have a series of entrances with pipes, then an exit, and then an entrance. And in this case, I've put this in a spiral, but you could, I think it is pretty much going to be a spiral. And we just go around. We just take a 90-degree corner, exit entrance, exit entrance. Then we go up 1 level, and in the same way we used to do with the old conveyor lifts. And again, there is no entrance and exit on the end and on this end, although I probably should do it, but to make it symmetrical. But around it goes, exit, entrance, etc. So let's go and show you what it is. And of course, traditional for this kind of things. Brown substance that I'm going to say is tea. It's definitely not coffee. Even though the studio is called Coffee Stain Studios, it's definitely tea. I know it looks a little bit too brown, but anyway, off we go. So here it's pretty fast until we sort of start to get the uphill section, and and slow down. So you can see we got to 2 uphill sections there before it started to become really a burden. So yeah, if anyone has any ideas other than just build more and more spiral sort of layers, then you know, more than welcome to put them in the comments down below. People have been saying, like, if you put enough of them in together, they will fire across the map so fast that you won't be able to slow down before you hit the edge of the map, and that'll be your life in game over. Anyway, but you can see if I just go back into the top, or indeed I just reverse direction, but we're already at the top anyway, the additional effect of gravity just makes this so much faster on the way down. Oh, it's gonna it drops you on top of this belt, which pulls you back that way, which will pull you back in if you don't do anything. That's just my positioning. Anyway, going back down, you'll see once it starts to go downhill, things to start get faster and faster. So yeah, if you can take advantage of gravity in any way, you can see just how fast it starts to get going. And yeah, off we go. And we'll see whether I end up nicely positioned on the exit. There we go. And I can get out of it just fine as long as I have a gap there. So yeah, answers on a postcard for better designs for this. I'm sure there will be end up some standard solution, unless Coffee Stain actually decide to fix this. I consider it hilarious, and that Player Innovation, certainly not mine, has come up with a mechanism like this. It's just a replacement for the old ejection systems that you used to be able to build with conveyor belts, along with various different running and jumping, and it used to send you all across the map, I think with jump pads or something like that originally. Something like that is pretty good. Anyway, today we're going to be looking over at the sort of nuclear area of the map, and that is over there. There is a way to get to it through that little gap in the mountainside. We did show it on the map. If I just show that on uranium, it is not inaccessible, but it does definitely need some, well, not finagling. What's the right term for this? We're definitely going to need filters, put it that way. So I did get a commenter saying, yeah, I don't bother with manufacturing filters. I just buy them, at least for the ones I need. And that's a good call. I have a few coupons I've been just making with various ingredients I've fed into the machine. So we do have those. If we go in here, we can get 10 coupons. And over here, I can go to the item shop and I can go and buy some filters. So there, here we have radiation filters, 1 for 10 filters. So let me just buy one of those, and I'll buy gas filters as well. Although I don't have the gas mask at the moment, but in fact, yeah, let's just remove that. I just want the radiation filters, and let me just buy 20 of them. Oh, that still says 1. Oh no, it says 2 there, but then the total. Let me just press buy all. Okay, I definitely got 2 batches. And in my inventory, how many tokens do I have now? How many coupons? 8. Good. So it didn't actually take too many, which is good. Happy with that. And where are the coupons? Are they still? Yeah, there they are. Okay. So I've now got 20 of the iodine infused filters, along with a hazmat suit, which is right there. Basically, they do stack next to each other. That's kind of a nice touch. Yep, they are going to be quite useful for getting near the nuclear mining point. So we're going to need certainly going to need a mining thing, a miner. Don't have the stuff for Mark 3s. Mark 2s will be more than fine. So I need some frames. I need some pipes, other bits and pieces, portable miners, etc., and then we can go and dump that down on the spot. However, I did also take a look at the recipes, and you cannot just dump the ore that's going to go out of the ground straight into a power plant like you could do with, well, with a slight processing of the oil, like the fuel stuff. So that oil just gets turned into fuel, and straight into the power plant it goes, and hey, free power at that point. Yeah, that's not going to happen with the nuclear. So let's look at the nuclear chain, and let me let you know what you need to build in your factory. To start off that whole chain, we're going to need supercomputers, and we can handcraft those to get started, because we're going to need relatively few of them to get started. We're going to need 5 or 6, I think I'm going to say 5, for the nuclear power station itself. So let's call this the first one. Although I think we'll need lots of them, but hopefully not anyway. So nuclear power plant, I've got everything I need, and this is huge in terms of a building size. In fact, do I even have enough room Can't afford encroaching another clearance everywhere here. Okay, let's go out into the relatively countryside, and let's go and see this thing in action. So will this go in the lake? Probably at some point. Floor's too steep, can't afford. What can I afford? Oh, just concrete. Okay. Well, that's an easy one to actually grab. Let's go and grab some concrete, and let's see what this thing takes to construct. It's almost like building your own space elevator at that point. And there we go. And of course, what I was thinking of doing is putting this near the miner for the uranium. As it turns out, that's probably not going to be a great idea because of the amount of stuff that you're going to need to manufacture to put into or feed into the nuclear power plant. It's got its own production line. We're going to explore that today. So here's the nuclear power plant itself. It's huge. Very, very huge. Encroaching on this clearance. Can I actually get it on here? I don't think I can. Let me just put it in the water. And then we'll drop down. There we go. Yep, that's pretty large. And there's the creatures was wondering what on earth is going on. So configure nuclear power plant. Here we go. Fine. So it says we're going to need water. That much is for certain. And we're going to need fuel. Well, we're going to get fuel in. And we're going to get waste. Now, the other thing that I saw on actually making this is that there are control rods. And I don't see in here control rods. Maybe that needs to go elsewhere. I wouldn't have thought the control rods would be consumable, to be honest. I thought it would be just a one-time thing more than anything else. But again, I don't see a separate input for them. But we are going to end up with some waste output of this thing. How about here? Anything on this side? No, it's all the same internal, so fine. Let's just go and explore. Can we get up to the top of the chimney here? Yes, we can. Okay. Is there an inside I can fall into? No. Good. Okay. Fine. Fair enough. Okay. So this is fine. So we're going to need to feed in some fuel. And we also can overclock this to 250%. So we don't need to be even build more than one. And this thing, consumption, it says basically 300 cubic meters per minute. So, or in terms of storage, so that's fine. And let's just build that up. So we're going to need fuel rods. Or fuel in some sort, but it will be rods, and I need to get back out of this lake. 1 second. Okay, lake exited. Let's go and take a look at the next steps. So, working backwards, let's take a look at the manufacturer. Are you going to require the thing for the control rods? Yeah, there we go. Nuclear fuel rod we need. So, from that, yep, I use this fuel in nuclear reactors, very radioactive. And that requires electromagnetic control rods. Remember that thing I rejected as the recipe earlier? Well, production recipe is the existing recipe is stators and AI limiters, and that was going to produce the control rods. The AI limiters are all the way over the other side of the factory, and the stators are all over this side. But I have lots of the stators, so that shouldn't be a problem. So electromagnetic control rods, it seems like they're going to be built in to the fuel rods. Now, in a real reactor, the fuel rods and the control rods are two entirely separate things. The control rods, if you're aware of how nuclear reactors work, basically you push them into the reactor or take them out, and it controls the rate of the reactions in the reactor itself. Too many reactions, and well, bad things happen. Anyway, I would just love us to move to fusion. So please, someone figure out fusion. Elon Musk, just throw money at them or something. Yeah, that would be great if someone could. There are significant issues with that as well. Anyway, let's ignore real life. So aside from that, we're going to make these control rods. We'll probably do that in today's episode because that's going to be fairly simple. In case industrial beams we're already making, so we just have to feed that somewhere else, and they're going into the modular frames, so we could just have a splitter there. And then we come to the sort of more difficult new part. These are the uranium cells, and these are moderately radioactive. But when you put them into fuel rods, they become very radioactive. So I'm fairly certain that this manufacturer that we're going to be building needs to be pretty much close to wherever you're putting your power plant, because I don't want to have them out in the open. Now, what I don't know yet, and people in the comments can probably say if you've built this yourself, is if stuff's on a conveyor belt, is it actually radioactive to the stuff around it, or does it count as contained? Because having lots of stuff running around your factory every time from the point of which you mine the ore upwards, if that becomes radioactive as terms of you know being close to it, I mean, people have said that before. It shouldn't really be radioactive as such when it's just in the ore form, because it's basically diluted. We haven't really concentrated it in any way. However, or it shouldn't be hazardous to our health, put it that way. But yeah, it already is. I got close to that point up there in the cliffs, and it was quite damaging, at least without some filters. So we got to make 25 of these for every nuclear fuel rod, and every time I make this, it becomes really radioactive. So what I'm probably going to do is have these encased uranium cells either in a truck that may be protected, or something else that if they're on belts and they're not too harmful, then cool. So everything from this point backwards says on the tooltips moderately radioactive. Okay, so that will be, you know, probably safer to handle than these things. So moving back, we've got to make encased uranium cells. Both of these we can already make with our existing sort of thing. You can see this takes two things. This also doesn't really tell me how it's actually made. Yeah, so encased uranium cells. Is this also manufactured? Is it in here already? It is not. So we need to go down to the next step of manufacturing, which would be the assembler. Okay, so in here we can see we can make the two nuclear things. So there's the recipe I was just showing you, and then the encased uranium cells. Encased uranium cells, just concrete, cool. And this, uranium pellets, doesn't tell me at this point how to make uranium pellets. Purified and casted, fairly certain that should be cast. I don't think the past tense is casted. I think it's still cast. Anyway, basically made from uranium ore. So presumably the mine is going to dig up uranium ore, and this assembler is going to convert them into uranium cells. We are going to need concrete, but it may be worthwhile thinking about, if depending on what machines are needed for these two, to maybe have these local to the uranium ore miner. And is there any way to actually see how we make these pellets? Are the pellets in the first thing? Constructor? Pellets, they're not. Okay, how about smelter? Nope. How about in a foundry? Nope. Okay, so I'm out of machines at this point, other than maybe a refinery, but refinery might make sense if you're talking about refining. Let me just go and double check that. You wouldn't expect pellets to come through something that deals with liquid, though, to be perfectly honest. But hey, I want to give it a try. Pellets? Of course. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I'm not gonna complain too much. Anyway, 5 uranium pellets is 2 cubic meters of sulfuric. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. Short coughing fit over. The 5 uranium pellets is going to be 2 cubic meters of sulfuric acid, which we need to make from the sulfur process, along with uranium ore. And it says it's radioactive from this point outwards. This is moderately radioactive. So the uranium ore, we're going to need sulfuric acid wherever it goes. So we may end up, because sulfuric acid, obviously, we're going to make that from sulfur and water. So I think we're going to need a remote base for this. I don't think there's really any way to get around the fact that it's just this huge production chain to get us to pretty much unlimited power once we have it. So we definitely need sulfur to get started. That's one end. And whatever we're doing on this end of the factory, for example, combining those stators and the AI limiters, that's going to be, and is it concrete as well, or is it something else that we already had? Yeah. Both of those we need to maybe ship out remotely. So yeah, this is going to be a whole chain, which means the first thing we're going to need is sulfuric acid, and that's just water and sulfur. Cool. Okay, so in that case, our such has to go to sulfur. Please be something near the... I'm sure it's fairly close to the nuclear. Please, 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 please. It's going to be over that direction somewhere if it is. You're going to ping. There you go. Okay, so over here. Not quite, because the nuclear is... You see where this explored area is? That's when I went for it. The nuclear is in that area. The sulfur is over here. That's not terribly useful. So we may have to ship the sulfur out from where it is at the moment. You can see we've got a quartz station over there, down and around and back wherever we're going to use it. Do I already have sulfur set up? I don't think I do. Let me just go and check on the other side in this train station. Yeah, I definitely don't have sulfur set up. I do have this green power slug here. I'm just going to actually get rid of something else in my inventory that I don't need. Why don't I just consume this bacon agaric, I guess. And then I should end up with enough space once I rearrange stuff. There we go. Collecting green power slug. That's the way we like it. I do already have some purple power slugs, and I have 2 yellow and now green, so we can convert those up into the overclockers. And this one is right next to where the sulfur is. So if we have a look here, sulfur is 94 meters that way, and I'm right here. More importantly, this sulfur is right next to the water, so we can make sulfuric acid right here and then ship that in some kind of pipe to wherever it needs to go. Hopefully there is no deadly acid around here, or gas I should say. No, but there are the what I might affectionately call the rhinos with zoomies, or whatever you want to call these things, where they don't pose much of a threat these days. But I still definitely want the rifle, which means we're probably going to want a supply of sulfur anyway. So if we can send some of it into sulfuric acid, we can ship that out along with some of it, maybe splitting it off, heading back towards our base via the train line if we wanted it to make Nobelisk or other explosive. And regardless, while I'm actually here, if I have just drop some stuff that isn't particularly valuable, ideally. Why do I have a factory cart in my inventory? That's awful. Okay. I don't have anything that I want to just get rid of. Yeah, no, I don't really want to do that. So, yeah, I'm going to pick up sulfur, and I'm going to take basically a stack back with me just to see if there's any other research that I can do. But we're going to come out here next episode now. I'm going to end this episode a little bit early, then we can get to a proper one next time, just with all the, well, as much as I can of the production process out of the way. We're going to get sulfuric acid at this side. We're going to get that processed across to wherever the uranium is. The uranium will need to be mined. That'll be combined with the sulfuric acid, and that'll make us into the pellets. And then the pellets will ship to be made into the fuel, well, the intermediary fuel rods, and then into the final fuel rods right wherever we put the nuclear power plant. So yeah, if you want to join me for that, that's more than welcome to do that. Let me just head back to the base with this, see if there's anything I can do with it. And in case you're wondering why I want Nobelisk explosive, this is why. See that? There is a slug inside there. It's hidden by the rocks. We can blow them up. That is very, very useful to have. And I did also find concrete out here. If we just have a look here, so it will be useful if we're going to combine that. Limestone, there we are. Should be fairly close to us. There it is, 100 meters away. See, it's right there. So we have plenty available. Let's just show the map again. Plenty available around should we need limestone to manufacture concrete locally to wherever we're making basically the sulfur. So here's our train, and we can hitch a ride back to the base. And back at the base, that means that everything for this encased uranium cell, if we ship the uranium ore straight to wherever the sulfur is, on site there we can make everything up to this point. The encased uranium cells will be made right there, because these pellets basically will be made in the refinery, and that comes from sulfuric acid along with the uranium ore. So and these are made in an assembler with concrete, which we have local, so everything can be shipped over there. From this point outward, however, we will then need the manufacturer, but the manufacturer will just need to go finally wherever we, oh, I'm going to be out of cable, but wherever we put our nuclear power plant is going to be where the final assembly is, and it's going to probably end up being to be near somewhere near this base, because that's where we're making the stators, that's where we're making the AI limiters, and we have the other ingredient as well. It's probably concrete or something we have in our base anyway. So the stators are right here in my base, right here, plenty of them. They're being made over there, so we can just ship maybe a split off here, ship them out across the map, not too far though, along with this line of copper. We don't need to, well, I suppose we could even make more of them down here, fresh from copper if we wanted to. There's plenty of it available on the belts. And then we could have that combined with the air limiters over here. We could have those all put together. And of course, then we have a nuclear power plant probably beyond this point. Although we are going to need to get those cells, the intermediary ones, out here somehow. Because remember, the nuclear is over there. It's going to ship it out all the way over there, at which point it's going to need to come back around here. So at that point, I think what I'm going to end up doing is having a nuclear train. Because it's good for long distance stuff. We'll have another train that comes from all the way over there. And then out here somewhere is where we'll have, in this desert area, is where we'll have our nuclear power plant. What do you think? Have you encountered any shortcuts, any alternate recipes from hard drives that you think improves this process? If so, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, that's what we're going to be going with. This episode has been mostly an explainy episode, but it's going to be followed by a buildy episode next time. So again, also willing to see any improvements any of you have made with these. There are some fairly ridiculous combinations that probably will kill you as easily as looking at you, but I think there's really two types. One that which eject you like that, and then the other one which is a spiral which I built up here. Any improvements? More than welcome to see them. Hope you join me next time for some more Satisfactory. As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, or you can click on the like button, of course, if you did enjoy the episode, or click on the bell if you want notifications for more episodes. Otherwise, see you next time.